Welcome to the According to Weeze podcast with me, your host, Louisa Duran, more affectionately known as Weeze. I believe that liberation requires of us the ability to imagine, to reimagine what is into what could be. It requires us to think outside of what is currently possible, to become architects of possibility. So in each episode, we'll candidly examine and explore everything from pop culture to current events and hot topics through this lens. So get cozy, get comfy, and let's dive in. Hello, y'all, and welcome back to According to Weeze, the podcast. I gotta say, I'm pretty jazzed because this is my first episode back, and I have a guest, and my guest, I don't know that there are words for quite how highly I regard this guest. There probably are, and they are an author and a writer and an amazing one, and so they could find them. I just like to pretend I'm a wordsmith, but I say that more so to say that have y'all ever met somebody who immediately you're like, dang, like this soul is an amazing soul. Like this is a person that I have to know. Like their energy is amazing, their vibe is amazing, just the way that they move through the world makes me have to know them. That is Tammy. Tammy is a person that you just have to know. And your sphere, your life is just better every time you cross paths with her. On top of that, she is a brilliant human and a phenomenal author, and we will be talking about her book. But mostly, I'm just excited to be here with you.
Hi. Yeah, thank you so much for that. That is so nice.
You are so New York, and I hate it sometimes.
I could have said something better, but it's from my heart. Thank you.
I know. That's why I said that was so New York, because it was like 3 words, but it was so good. That was really nice. Like
felt seen, respect.
I felt it a bit. I also though should preface that we met each other in a comment section. America Hates Us comment section, and then somehow it became us banging on the purveyor of that account, the wonderful human that runs that account, and being like, not you keeping us from each other. That's my little shout out to
and then we met face to face.
Yes.
Yeah.
If y'all don't know, Tammy also gave a TED Talk on the same stage that I gave a TED Talk on. And kind of a perfect segue. So Tammy, your TED Talk was, I'm curious to know actually before we get into the book, did you write the book and then from there you realized it was like, you were like, damn, I need to make sure that everybody hears about community care and hood wellness? Or has it always been something that has been on your spirit and been on your mind and been kind of your guiding light, and it was more just like, okay, wherever I can talk about it, I talk about it?
Yeah, it's more like it's always been a thing. Hood wellness, I started working on it back in 2019. And I just put up a post earlier. It's like 4 years of the day when I finished the book proposal of the idea. And it looks nothing like what is in the book now because it got to evolve so much. Mm-hmm. But it's so funny. The funny thing about the TED Talk is that, I said no the first couple of times I was asked because I've always looked at it like TED Talks are for talkers, for, speakers, for platforms and things like that. As a writer, I'm on the page. I'm not really in a microphone. And I love performance art, but it wasn't, I wouldn't really call it that. So I only really say yes because I said, wow, that really pairs with my book. I like that. But the wild thing about the TED Talk is you got to promote it. So I do this thing to promote my book, and now I did this thing that I got to promote that promotes my book. I was like, damn, bro, they got me. They got me.
Got us all.
You feel me? Right. Because I'm not really built to promote this, especially right now. I love what I said. I meant everything that I said. But in light of things that happen with that organization as well as what's going on now globally, it's just not in alignment with any direction that I'm going in. It's like I'm always trying to figure out if it can even fit in somewhere, and it never does. You know what I mean? Like, it's just this thing that I did. Great lighting, wonderful gowns, beautiful photos. You know what I mean? I think we just got the photos back, little things like that. But I mean, it was good snacks too. Remember the snacks? They were very cute, heart-shaped cheese and whatnot. I respect them for that. Was it worth the flight from New York to California? Baby, I don't know.
You know, we're going to have Elizabeth on, and we're going to have a TED Talk about a TED Talk for another time.
No, for real, dead ass, right? A TED Talk about TED Talks, because it's there's what it is, and then there's what you experience. And you know, I love that I got to talk my shit, and that there's footage of it. That's always cool. But I mean, I got Instagram lives that got more views than my TED Talk.
Say that.
You know what I mean? So I can't imagine splicing this video up. I want to talk about new shit at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not reduced to this 10-minute message about my platform.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because the biggest thing for me has really been sitting with this question. This has been my question for 2024. And this is a tangent, and I knew this would happen with us, but we'll get back to the book in Communal Care.
Go off.
What level of hypocrisy am I willing to live with every single day? Being a person who is so deeply committed to liberation and everything that means in a society, in a global society that is so hell-bent on ensuring that liberation is not won. And granted, we're fighting for it and all the things, right? But the existing power, colonial imperialist powers that be, they don't want that for us. In fact, they're doing everything they can to make sure we don't have it.
Right.
And we see that down to the decisions we have to make our money, or the decisions we have to make to promote our books. I mean, not me, I didn't write one, but generally, right?
You got it in you.
But, you know, I do. The question is, do I want to?
It's a labor. It's very laborious.
I know.
I'm still not the same.
You know what? I'm going to come back to that, because I do have a question about that. But I want to say, it's going to be hard for me to talk about this book without talking about this book. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. I think everybody should read it. I think I texted you. I was like, I cried. I laughed. This is so beautiful. And it is so... I felt seen. I felt, just all the things. I think every single person needs to read this book, rather. But I am going to give away a little bit. The fact that you are talking about not getting on a stage and not being a speaker, considering the hustle and bustle of being in the service industry and the performance that is the service industry. Any of us who have been in the service industry know, like, it is a grand show, especially if you want those tips. And then knowing you in real life, I'm so shocked. It's one of those moments where you're like shocked, like, what? Girl, you are meant for the stage. You are meant for people to be listening to.
I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like I got off to a rough start with performing. And I've talked to so many other Black girls, brown girls that have had this experience where you aim so high because you don't know better. So I always saw myself as a performer, comedian, or whatever. Just I always knew I had that thing. And then till somebody gets in your way and you're like, oh, that's right. There's an exception for me in that place. Yeah. And so there's a little bit of a pattern with me where I'm always like, well, how close can I get to that star anyway? And food service for me was very much that, because it gave me a lot of things that I was looking for at the same time. It gave me the money. It gave me the affirmation that I actually am exceptional, or else I wouldn't be able to work in this establishment. I wouldn't be able to hold down this position and to be able to, really make a career out of it. Whereas there's people, there was some nights when if the white girl next to me was making $75, I might have been leaving with $350 just because of the way that I got down on the floor. So I'm always reconciling what I'm doing. And is it because this was the limit as far as I was concerned? Or was it because this is what I wanted to do? And when I look at the TED Talk, what I see is someone who felt like this is an alignment with what I want to happen, but not necessarily with what I want to do. Because even I think throughout the pages of Hood Wellness, even in my own tone, I could see my character. I can see the performance that I'm able to give with my own words. So I know that there's another way that I would probably be able to tickle my pickle on a stage that's not necessarily, in a platform that needs me more than I need them. Because at the end of the day, 5 years from now, I'm still not going to tell nobody about that TED Talk. And Ted going to be somewhere in San Antonio showing my little black photo, my little 5 minutes on the stage. You know what I mean? You know how they do with the colleges? And they got like 8 black kids on there and they all be on the folder. Right. Yep. They got me, bro. You know what I mean?
They got us all.
Yeah.
We're like the single most diverse panel they've ever had.
Right.
I don't think, do we have any white people?
I don't think so. The only white people were the ones that were instructing us to stay on that red circle. I believe that was it. I don't remember any in regard of our ensemble cast.
No, just direction. Yes.
Right. As far as I remember.
Yeah, that was what a time.
They got it on tape.
We really need a whole other episode. I love the point that you just made, which really is echoed so many times in the book, right? Thinking that you can aim for the stars because the world hasn't kind of slapped you upside the head yet to remind you that things are different, right? You haven't had the moment yet where someone says, your body's not quite the body in whatever way, shape, or form, right? Or your look or your whatever it is, right? It doesn't fit the mold of whiteness. And so having to constantly, right, battle with yourself of do I keep striving when I've been told that it's impossible? Do I fall into the pitfall or the trap of exceptionalism and trying to then, right, become that version of exceptional? Or do I just hit this status quo real quick and, kind of slide through life? I think it speaks volumes to another piece that you mentioned in the book, right? Which is the whole point of community care is the deep importance of surrounding yourself with other marginalized folks, right? And granted, white folks are, rah, here to help, all the things. But they're not finna save us. We're gonna have to save ourselves, so to speak, right? We've always been all we have. And I think that to me has been the most powerful reminder of reading Hood Wellness, especially for me right now in my own journey of being I'm retiring the business and making some shifts and changes, and I can't talk to y'all about racism anymore because you're just really exploitative and extractive, and it is and at what cost, for what? But I would love for you to speak to that because obviously you're writing it. I mean, I could hear you talking, not in the way that your writing wasn't beautiful, but I could just hear your tone and I could hear you through the words, right? And you're writing this from your lived experience. So going back to the fact that you birthed a thing, right? This was a labor. What was that process like? Especially for you, because it's not just an analytical kind of sociological, reflection of society. This is your life.
At first it was supposed to be that, real buttoned up.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I had so much of myself out of the book. Yeah. But by the time, I want to say, probably when I got signed, and I kept revising my proposal to reflect some of the things that I had went through, with my teeth and the moving and getting in a different pay bracket. And I realized I can't really take myself out of this experience. I'm my greatest receipt. And I wanted to include other voices one thing I feel like we're both learning, everyone that's been involved in it, is reflection is a luxury when you're in survival mode. You know what I mean? Because I gotta look forward. I don't even got time to feel bad or contemplate and be wishy washy. Like my life is on the line every day, every time I get up.
It's not an
So
option.
you know what I mean? So a
Yeah.
lot of these things that I was revisiting, I was like, wow. I was really, that's why I kind of joke where I'm like, is she gonna be okay? Because
Right.
I'm not looking at
Will
it
she
then
make
like,
it?
you feel me? Like, oh, you were in
Yeah.
crisis mode. But as I
Yeah.
look back at it, I'm like, that was crisis mode. I might make starvation sound, hopeful, but when I was hungry, it was nothing hopeful about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the revisiting the stories are kind of reconciling who I had to be. I don't want to romanticize poverty. I don't want to romanticize code switching, but I also don't want to be lacking so much nuance that I want to pretend like you don't get anything for doing it. There's a price that you pay to kind of get on that side of faux privilege, but at the same time, to stay away from that side, look at what you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that for me, I don't, I don't share myself gratuitously like, oh, haha, and then this happened. But I
Right.
say it because there's a very drastic difference from what my life looked like when I was roughing it on my own
Yeah.
and what life looked like when I said I need help,
Yep.
and then what life for others looked like when I was in a position to give it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we've gotten so, this is my tangent right now because this is what I feel about. And I know we talked about this before about anti racism,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, it is so manipulative as an
Mm-hmm.
industry
Mm-hmm.
in how it reduces our work and our intellectual property and all the things that we do. And we're reduced into this one thing. And you do it because you're like, well, this is what they're listening to. And then 6 months later, a new wave comes, somebody who makes better reels, somebody who knows more popular people, somebody with more followers. And
Mm-hmm.
now you sitting here with that two-step that might have got you a blue check, might have got you tens of thousands of fans. And now you don't know what to do. So now you're trying to, everybody's rebranding and trying to refigure things out on how can I stay relevant? How can I stay on this radar? And the reality is they took what they got from you. They're gone now.
Yep.
They're not coming back on the block.
Nope.
So I think that with Hood Wellness, there is a lot of that reflection on what life looks like for us when we say, this is the thing that I do, and I'm going to commit to doing it to the people that need it. I'm not going to repackage it so that it is white adjacent or white friendly. I don't care about what marketing says. I don't care about who followed me yesterday, who followed me today. This is my work. This is my activism. I really think that when you're rooted in that, it can get a little ugly, but it also gets very real. And so it was a lot why I never wanted to romanticize a lot of the things that I had experienced, but I wanted to be honest for those that do feel stuck, whether it is financially, creatively, or otherwise, that like, there's another, you could do this a little different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that when we read, right, I think this is the beauty of being able to have access to reading and books in the various ways that I mean accessible. That oh, I cannot talk today. In the
I
various
mean,
ways that I mean are
54% of America, is it illiterate, I
illiterate.
believe it is. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is a privilege indeed.
Yeah. And so that's what I mean, right? Like not whether it's literacy, whether it's, just some folks are perfectly literate and based on their geographic locations due to redlining and all sorts of other things don't have access to libraries, don't have access to, right? Like literally can't get books. So for all of those reasons, the privilege of being able to read, well, first it's a privilege in and of itself, but for me, it's always whatever I'm reading is always going to reflect back to me what I need most. And for me in Hood Wellness, it was that reminder because, and again, we've had this conversation. You, me, and Elizabeth have talked about this. The ways in which even when you're really well intentioned, you're just doing your work, you're doing your thing, you don't even realize how you're being extracted from, or you don't even realize how you've been commodified. And then you're like, oh, well, they're gone, and I'm still gonna keep doing what I'm doing. But it's like that is that hard decision, right? There are some folks that are staying right and true and on the path. There are some folks that are going to rebrand because they did it to be equity influencers and not actually just happen to be using, social media to amplify or whatever the case may be. But I think that's the most important thing for me that I really took away from this was an affirmation. So this is my thank you to you. This is me giving you flowers, by the way. Is like the affirmation of the choice that I made to remove myself from what became another industrial complex and continue to do my work, but do it specifically within community and with the next generation and with the people that are looking for guidance on how just to care for themselves, right? In a system that is not meant to care for us.
Right.
That was that affirmation of like, okay, this is a I could easily keep doing what I was doing, but it got to a point where I was like, oh, y'all are using me. No, thank you. And so sometimes you don't even realize that the books you read are written by people you love. So thank you, because I need my soul, my spirit needed that. The like, no, girl, that's the right move. Go do that.
Oh, thank you. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I've been writing my whole life.
Yeah.
And I remember when I got to Miami and it was getting real. And it was like, it was during, I think it was the summertime. So it was definitely during the racial uprising. And I remember I was like, I got to make some money.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I got to start sending out pitches. Like, I'm a writer now. Like, they need to know about me. And I start going through my work. And all my shit was like, and the other thing about white women, I was like, oh my God, I cannot even use this. Like, it reminded me of in the 90s when all comedians would be like, you ever notice? Because that's what Jerry Seinfeld used to do. Or how black comedians used to yell, because that's what Chris Rock used to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought about when I was looking at my little stack of Medium posts and all of that. And I was like, yo, I'm a real writer. I've always been a real writer. I've never been known to write about one thing. I've always looked at writers like, Candace Bushel, who wrote Sex and the City, and all these other little mediocre white writers, and how they write about whatever they want to write about. I used to always be like that. But it was somewhere between 2016 and 2020 where it was like, it was all about whiteness, anti-racism, this, intersectionality, that. Oh, and what that it's not like I was saying what I didn't believe, but it was intentionally and specifically written to white people to educate them, quote unquote, fix them. And it's like, we would be disingenuous if we act like we didn't notice that a lot of these white people were just learning the lingo, okay? Learning the little two-step. First of all, they was using it on each other. Whether they would either
I'm like, y'all
make
are
it
so
affect
mean to each other.
like, I'm like, you guys aren't even gonna make it out the house.
Right.
I didn't even see, like, you are so ineffective in just behavior alone.
Y'all
And
spend
so
more time banging on each other about who's
I'm not even kidding you, for real.
writer, and who's committing
Who's doing it wrong?
less harmful white
Exactly.
atrocities than actually just. We should have been teaching them to mind their business. Mind your business. we forgot that lesson.
That's part of the performance, know?
No, 100%.
It's part of the performance. And me showing up, giving them this script, giving them that, it doesn't matter what my intention is. The impact is nobody in this circle is winning. Not me. My work isn't getting better. I can't even use it. Y'all are getting goofier. It's like it's all bad. Throw it all out.
Yeah.
So I remember a lot of people saying to me, a lot of people said it without saying it. Like, this is a really bad time to, rebrand, because all anybody was talking about was racism and what was going on in George Floyd and all of that. And I just could not get into it if I wanted to. I remember I got really weird during that time. It was blowing bubbles and playing with crystals and studying the moon. I was so disassociated. It was ridiculous. But it was necessary because I no longer wanted to be wired to be reactionary to what was going on or what I was seeing in my timeline. Looking back at it,
I think that is it's one of the major reasons.
I'm telling you,
a lot of folks.
The way it impacts your life. I went out dancing with Elizabeth last month, she was someone.
I was really jealous.
It's like me being in Miami. I can't imagine not contacting her. But we were talking about the impact that we had before this was even trending. Before this was even trending, when we were fucking kids.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the episode. It would mean the world to me if you could show me some love by sharing the show, rating, and leaving a review. And if you want to dig just a little bit deeper into community, join me over on Patreon. Subscribe to the Substack for more Weezisms, or you can find me on the socials at According to Weez. All right, y'all, that's all I got. Until next time.